Good morning, family. We are back on another Monday, and we have resumed things as normal, as usual, I should say. One of the things that happened over the last week is, on a personal note, we finished the very first week, and I must admit, man, that all of the uh, perhaps fears, anxieties that I had about the position I was getting into has dissipated. They all have. And I think the reason for that is because the team that I'm on, I have never in my life met individuals that are so professional, so welcoming, so willing to teach, so willing to share. It's as if they want me to be successful. And so anytime you're involved in a situation where that's the case, then quite naturally you're going to prosper, you're going to grow, you're going to rise to the occasion. And so, needless to say, I had a wonderful week, right? New surroundings I'm going to have to learn, but that'll come in time. But now let's get to the point. What we're going to talk about this morning, right? There's so many people that say you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't do that, right? And at the beginning of our discussion, we're going to list some things not to do. But then after they've told you what you shouldn't do, have they helped you to understand the things that you need to do? And now usually I am speaking directly to the brothers, the young men, the older men, and everyone in between. But this morning, if you find some of the points that I make to be beneficial, hey, take them and run with them, right? So now let's take the three that I'm going to talk about this morning. There are three things that you shouldn't do. Three, especially if you're talking about gaining success in anything. Now, success is something that's measured differently from person to person, but I guarantee you that these three will help you to be successful in whatever facet of life you choose to use them in. So now, what do I mean? I advocate for being positive. I advocate for being intentional. I advocate for taking accountability for the things that you are responsible for, and then pushing those things toward a better position in life. I advocate for that. I can't help it. Throughout my life, that's what I've done, and I found it to be not only fulfilling, but I found it to be an avenue of gaining success, to continue to push, to continue to be positive. But these three things that I'm listing are anything but positive. Okay? So, in summary, what I'm saying is you should never give in, give out, or give up. So what does those three particular phrases mean? When you hear a person and they say, well, this particular person gave in, he gave in. Well, it displays a lack of confidence. It means that the individuals around you may be exerting some kind of negative force to keep you from going in the direction that you need to go, right? And so you kind of collapse under the weight, under the stress of that situation. You give in. And giving in, really, like I mentioned, shows a lack of confidence. But then it also shows that a person is confused. Now, why do we say that? We're saying that a person is confused because you haven't verified in your mind the course that you want to take. You haven't looked at your situation and decided firmly what path you're going to take. And you haven't decided that you're not going to allow anyone to push you off your path. The course that you have chosen is the one that you're going to stick with no matter what. And when the person hasn't done that, then of course they're easily confused. Because if you hadn't resolved in your mind to do a certain action or to take a certain path, then anyone can come in and sway you. Anyone can come in and redirect you. Anyone can come in and trick you. So that's the first thing. Never give in, right? What's the next one? Never give out. So, to give out means what? You think about it. It's a mental picture, giving out. You have this individual and they are running this race, right? At the beginning of the race, they start out very strong. They're running, they're maintaining a good pace, their breathing is good. Everything about them shows that their preparation is in place and is yielding good results. But then toward the end, after running the race for so long, they begin to get tired, right? And they show a lack of strength. And usually that lack of strength causes them to what? To give out, right? Have you ever seen someone running and they get to the very end of the race and they just simply collapse? Because they didn't have the strength that was necessary to see that particular race all the way through to the end. They just didn't have it. Maybe they overestimated their abilities. Maybe they didn't hydrate the way that they should have. Regardless of the fact, they gave out. Absolutely exhausted, right? And a synonym for that particular situation is that the person became fragile, right? They became fragile. Like we mentioned, even though they prepared, and maybe the situation was more than they could handle, regardless of the fact, they gave out because of lack of strength. Okay? What about the next one? To give up. Now, to give up takes on a totally different meaning from the other two. Because to give in is external. To give out to a certain degree is external. But to give up is internal. That's within you. And it portrays a lack of endurance. So what do we mean? A lack of endurance, for example, is having a routine or having a path that you've chosen in life that you're going to pursue. Let's say, for instance, you are a high school graduate and you're looking forward to going to college, right? And let's say, just for the sake of the conversation, you chose to do like I did. You chose to become an engineer. And so in the first year of your college career, you do well. All of the prerequisites that are needed to become an engineer, you pass them with flying colors, right? And then let's say, for the sake of the argument, in sophomore year, you do the same thing. Everything, the grades are good. Everything they throw at you, you're able to handle it, right? But then you hit junior year. And in junior year, you start to really see what engineering is all about. You start to see the difficulties of thermodynamics, of circuits, of all of the mathematical engineering classes that you have to take. You see the difficulties involved. You see the difficulties of adding in some computer coding so that you can run simulations. And it all becomes too much for you, right? It becomes so difficult that you what? You give up. You give up. Because there's something inside of you that will not allow you to meet the difficulties involved with your goal and surpass those difficulties. You meet those difficulties and they stop you right in your tracks. They don't prevent you to go any further. Like I mentioned, that's something that's internal. So in this whole mind state of giving up, it's not that a person wasn't prepared. It's not that they didn't have the strength. It's that they looked at the situation that they were in and they counted themselves out before the situation could even get off the ground. You're already saying to yourself, I can't do this. So what's the use? This is too hard for me. Now, I will admit, in that particular situation now, just as a sidebar, there were many, many times. I'm sure that there are many times for individuals who take up different majors that you're looking at what you have to do. You're looking at the circumstances that you're in. And you're saying, wow, how am I going to do this? But there was never a situation where I felt that I wouldn't be able to learn it. Were there some situations where I was tired? Were there some situations where I made some mistakes? Yes. But I never wanted to give up. And even when it looked like there was a situation where I could give up, I had those around me who refused to let me take that course of action. So those are the three. Don't give in, don't give out, don't give up. And so that I don't sound hypocritical, okay? Because at the beginning of our discussion, I did say that there are a lot of individuals that like to tell you what not to do, but they can't tell you what to do, okay? So now we're going to get into the more positive part of our discussion this morning. So if I can't give in, I can't give out, I can't give up, then what should I give? You should give your all. You should give to the best of your ability. Now, why do I say that? I say that because in all things, I want you to be intentional. I want you to set goals. I want you to look at things. And if it's reasonable, I want you to reach out. Okay? That's the basis of the channel. And so in giving your all, that means that in every circumstance, you do the best that you possibly can do. Right? You have confidence, you have strength, you have endurance. And you bring all of the qualities that are necessary to complete this particular goal that you set. You bring them with you. You don't leave any of them at home, okay? You bring them all with you. You give your very best. Because I'll tell you a funny thing will happen. If you give your best, and if you look back at that situation and you say, well, I did the best that I could do, there is a certain reassurance that gives you, because you didn't slack off, you didn't leave anything on the table, you did everything that you possibly could do to make this situation work out well. And because of that, you're left with no regrets. And as a matter of fact, because you're left with no regrets, then that means that the energy that you use to think about what you could have done, you can use that energy now to focus on the lessons that you learned from this particular instance. Think about that. You can focus on the lessons that you learned. What does that do? Then now your confidence, your strength, your endurance is starting to go up little by little. Every time you hit an instance and you give it your best, it teaches you something. And what it teaches you is a lesson that you can take to the next instance. And so you're learning, you're acquiring knowledge as you go. And then before long, because of the knowledge that you acquire, then you're able to skillfully use that knowledge. And guess what they call that? They call that wisdom, right? So not only do you have the knowledge that's required to complete certain tasks, not only that, but now you have the ability to use that knowledge to have a beneficial outcome. So that's what I'm saying. Instead of focusing on not giving in, not giving up, not giving out, focus on giving it your all. You'll never regret that. It'll never be a situation where you'll look back at that, whatever it may be, and say, oh man, I wish I had done this, or I wish I had done that. Because it's clear in your mind that you did everything that you could do. And that allows you to sleep at night too. You don't have the frustration that's involved with having regrets. Regrets, they don't tend to be very encouraging. They don't tend to be positive because they're proof that you didn't do all that you could do, right? And so that was a thought from me this morning, because in life you're going to run into difficulties. That's a given. If there's nothing else in the world that you can expect problems. You can expect difficulties. You can expect things to happen in a way that's going to test who you really are. But because of the fact that you have all of these weapons at your disposal, you have the confidence, you have the strength, you have the endurance, you can be successful regardless of what hits you. And as I mentioned, success means different things to different people. But wouldn't you agree that coming into a situation ready to give your all is the best way to handle it? Regardless of what your goal may be, if you're willing to give your all and you're willing to do it over an extended period of time, guess what's going to happen? You're going to be successful at that. You're going to, because you keep hammering at it. You keep working. And as you're working, you're making steady progress. And then that progress yields good results because you're talking to a person that believes in it. I'm about to be 40 years old, and I had no hesitation in believing that taking on more at this particular point in life would be difficult. But the results of fighting through that difficulty is more stability for my family, my girls, my mother, everyone around me. Isn't that worth it? To be more stable, to be more emotionally stable, to be more financially stable, to be more spiritually stable. Isn't that worth it? Whatever hard work that's involved, isn't it worth it? I think it is. And that's just a thought I wanted to leave with you this morning, right? I want us to be individuals who are realistic. We're positive. Yes, we look at things and we're trying to find the good, but then we're realistic. And the reality of the situation is there's always going to be a difficulty. But the power lies in the way that you respond. If you can be calm, if you can be intentional, if you can look at that situation and think it through, I guarantee you the decisions that you make in regards to the difficulty, they'll be good decisions. And there'll be decisions that you can look back on and you won't have any regrets. Okay? That's the thought for this morning, man. I'm going to stop before it sounds like I'm preaching, okay? I just wanted to share that with you. I was sitting around and it just occurred to me that those are some things, some notions that have worked for me, and I just wanted to share it with you, okay? I hope that this week is wonderful for you, just like last week was. And as always, man, you know how we end it. Do something positive. And I guarantee you that it'll come back to you in greater measure. All right? You know we love you. Peace.